Oh, greetings, humanity. As an Anunnaki, I bid you come. Join us as we investigate Zecharia Sitchin in our celebration of Digital Hammurabi's 2,000 subscribers.
Ta-da! Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Josh.
I am an Anunnaki in your presence. I have my spiritual pine cone, and my bucket.
The bucket is important. And I, as you can see, have a pineapple conspiracy theorist hat. Oliver is joining us tonight because he's very too sad. So he's going to be hanging out for a little while. Hopefully he'll fall asleep and then I can put him in his crib.
And I have the tallest hat in the world. He has no idea who I am. I'm really sorry, Oliver.
He doesn't seem too bothered by it.
No. Can everybody hear me okay through the wonderful beard that Megan made? Really, I want to braid it. Is what I want to do. But I have my rosettes.
Yep. A fringed garment, and we didn't have time to make massive eagle wings, so
but
he's wearing Piper's bumblebee wings from her bumblebee costume, which I think is quite fetching. You should incorporate them into your everyday outfit.
You must all take me very seriously, for I am an Anunnaki.
Oliver's staring at you like, what the hell, man?
I am afraid of what people are saying in the chat.
They like the wings, they like the hats. It's all good. Apparently they can hear you fine, which is great. No, you don't want to go.
And now I can attempt to drink the beer of the gods.
It's very in keeping with the stream. So, good evening, everybody. This is our celebratory live stream for reaching 2,000 YouTube subscribers. I did think we'd have a little bit more time to... Oh, hang on. I'm sorry.
Oh, buddy. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, Oliver. Maybe it's just because he saw me in my very, very tall hat. No, we went up. What was it? I think Wednesday or Thursday, we went up 223 subscribers in 24 hours. I don't know what it is, but
it's your hat.
It's my hat.
The hat.
I think your hat's pretty awesome. We wanted to get her a T-shirt that said "The truth is out there," but
we ran out of time.
We ran out of time.
And then I'm wearing a baby anyway, so you wouldn't be able to see it.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to see it.
So,
but we could put it on Pond, I guess.
I mean, we could try. I don't think Pond would like wearing a T-shirt very much.
But we are Digital Hammurabi, and you have helped us get to 2,000 subscribers.
Which is awesome.
It's incredible.
So
and
thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Especially if you're joining us live for the first time. Welcome. You're in for quite the treat.
Indeed. I am Dr. Josh, as hard as that might be to believe. And this is Megan, soon to be Dr. Lewis. Soon.
Oh, Pond wants your bucket.
Oh, well, that's good. Pond, you can have the bucket. Just don't pee in it. But, yeah, you know.
Yeah. So we did promise last time we did one of these live streams that the next time we hit 1,000, Josh would wear a dress. And we went so far to get a dress, which I will show you. It's a rather fetching maroon number with diamantes and beading on the bust.
It's a beard car wash.
It is a beard car wash. So we bought a dress because we decided my dresses wouldn't fit him. And then it was pointed out to us that actually dressing a guy up in a dress to be laughed at was not terribly friendly to the trans community, which was a pretty good point. And I was like,
I guess it's possible that this is not kind to the Anunnaki community.
I mean, that's true. I'm willing to take that risk. So instead, we thought that we'd do costumes that were more thematically suited to the material of the night. Hence Josh's Anunnaki costume and my tinfoil hat, because you can't be a good conspiracy theorist without a tinfoil hat. And also, it looks a little bit like a pineapple. So I'm a shiny silver pineapple tonight. So that's the plan. And next, oh yes, and we're going to purify Oliver. There we go. Oliver is now purified. So tonight we are going to go over some more of Zecharia Sitchin's 12th Planet. We had a couple of comments on the last live stream that there was not enough Sitchin content, which I'm really sorry about. Part of that is because these aren't very well planned events, because we don't really know when they're going to happen. It's
and you get us here months before we anticipate getting here. I wasn't
expecting the 2000 mark to be quite so soon. So yes, part of that is because we don't really plan them. They're quite ad hoc. Part of that is also because, well, it's late and we're both tired. So I'm running on caffeine, mostly tea. Josh is running on Anunnaki magic.
And my hat.
And his hat, which is the greatest hat of all time. You look like someone out of Indiana Jones. Dun, 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 dun. So we have actually done a little bit more preparation than we did last time. So hopefully there will be more Sitchin content to keep everybody happy. As ever, if you have questions, ask questions.
And actually, what I would say, sorry.
No, go for it.
What I would say, so this book, you know, I've every time I read through it, I think, how do you, most books have like a systematic, most good books have a systematic presentation of the data, right? They make argument A, then argument B, then argument C, and then they tie it all together to make an overall argument, right? This book isn't really laid out that way.
No.
And so it is somewhat difficult to sit down and systematically determine how to address the 800,000 things that he says without any citation.
Yeah, when he cites a text, if you don't know what he's citing, and it's difficult to know what he's citing because he uses translations that are weird and crazy and not actual translations. So it's not like you can look it up and say, oh, I recognize that passage, and then go through the myths that it's likely to be and work out which it is, because the words he uses are not standard translations, so you can't go and find the right words. So you have to read it, think, this might be Inanna's descent to the netherworld. I'm not sure which part it is because he's using weird translations. Let's read through everything and see what we can find.
Yeah. So at any rate, it's a frustrating book. That being said, there are certain things. By the way, I've asked this. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Okay. Good. So there are certain things that are sort of common themes that at least go through major sections of the book. And we've picked out some of those and we've tried to put them into somewhat of an outline format.
We've tried.
It is difficult. And as you can tell, we are big on being very serious on these book club celebration streams.
This is my serious hat.
Yes, and this is my serious face.
Underneath the beard, somewhere. Briefly, Christopher is asking, how does one gain Dr. Josh's amazing Anunnaki magic powers?
Well,
I think you have to have the hat.
It's right.
Which, by the way, is made of bubble mailers and a pillowcase. So you can make one at home and thereby gain the magic powers for yourself.
Yes, but you have to have the magic beard that is woven. And this is really cool. I think she did a really good job with this.
Thank you.
I feel like there's an octopus hanging from my face.
It's the octopus beard.
Oh gosh.
Ginger Course 69 is asking, what did he smoke to write that book? Is it legal to consume?
In some of the states now, I think it is. So
okay, we have a very tired baby who's not actively screaming. So I'm going to try and put him to bed.
Could we turn the air conditioning down just a little bit too?
Do you mean make it colder?
Make it colder,
okay.
Yeah.
I get very confused about that.
So
I will be back in a second. I will leave you with the wonderful, magical Dr. Josh.
Okay, so let's talk about one more thing as a prerequisite while we wait for Megan to get back, as she has read the book more than I have. But one of the things that stands out to me that I think we should all just kind of keep in mind when we think about somebody like Sitchin is that you can make a lot of assertions, and if you don't back them up, it's sort of like, well, prove me wrong, right? And I may have said this before on a previous stream, but the fool can ask more questions than the wisest man can ever answer. And I really feel like that's part of the situation here. He's not really asking questions, I don't suppose, but he's making statements. And when he says this Sumerian word means this, or this passage means this, in every case, I have to go back and figure out. We have to go back and figure out what passage he's referring to, and then prove in every case that that's not what that word means. Now, we can do that, right? And in a lot of these things, we are doing it. But there are some things, for example, where he says Jacob wasn't dreaming when he had the dream about the ladder that went up into heaven. He wasn't dreaming. That was real. And he saw, that's actually something that he saw.
Spaceship.
Well, okay. I mean, like, I mean, there's so many assumptions in that, like this is a real story and you believe that it's a real story. But if you step into that idea and then say, okay, did he really do that? How do you disprove something like that? Right. So
without a time machine.
Yeah. So at any rate, we are going to do our best. And so what I think would be good is, sorry, there was an ancient Sumerian gnat in here and I just swatted at it with my royal Anunnaki hand.
This is going to be a very serious live stream, I can tell.
Indeed. So if you have questions, we'd kind of like to make this a little bit like an Ask Me Anything About Mesopotamia Sitchin edition. Oh, snap.
So we've got some things that we want to talk about, namely the moo and how it's not translated as spaceship, and how if you translate moo the way Sitchin wants to, most of Sumerian language stops making sense. Because moo is a surprisingly important word. So we're going to talk about that. Oh, okay. We've just had Brant join us on the live chat. Hi, Brant. He's a little bit confused. Josh is dressed as an Anunnaki.
Here,
today.
let me see. Can I see the picture?
Yes.
Yeah, for those of you that are just joining us, and we have 25 watching right now.
That's pretty good.
This is what, how do you do this? This is what I'm trying to represent. I am an Anunnaki. I feel like it's not too far off. I think Megan did a great job. She made this costume in like 20 minutes.
A little bit more than that. We raided Joanne Fabrics for some discount fabric. So yeah, we have the beard and the cone and the bucket and some
I
kind
know
of
what's going on with the hat.
of wing. The hat is the best part.
It really is. I'm going to turn that fan on.
The ancient Babylonians did not have tinfoil. Oh, I didn't turn down the AC. Oh. This is my conspiracy theorist hat to stop the CIA and the FBI and really whoever wants to get inside my brain from getting inside it.
The truth is out there.
The truth is out there. What they do inside my brain, I don't know. Presumably, they actually have better things to be doing. So,
I'm kind of surprised I didn't take off as I walked over there.
Yeah,
my wings.
The wings. Those provide tremendous lift.
They're my moo.
Moo. So let us get going. The book we're reading, Zecharia Sitchin's 12th Planet. Last time we went through his incorrect translations of the word dingir. Not two words, just one word means God, does not mean whatever the hell it
people
is.
People of the fiery rockets.
No.
Oh.
No, that's... Oh, no, maybe it is people of the fire.
No, righteous flashing ones.
Righteous flashing ones, there you are. Not righteous flashing ones means gods. That's pretty much it. You like that beard, don't you?
I do.
So we went through it. What else did we do last week? Not last week, last time.
It feels like it was last week.
It
was funny. It took us
like a week and a half.
It took us 5 months, I think, to get to 1,000 subscribers. And then it took us 8 days to get to 1,500. No, 8 days to get to 1,200. And then 7 days to get to 2,000. Like, I don't know.
So I don't know what it is that you guys are doing, what it is we're doing, but it's working. So keep doing it.
Please.
Definitely.
Yeah, we are well on track to
we're doing well. And Josh has said, I don't know how serious he was, but I'm going to tell the internet because then he can't back out of it. He has said that once he hits 10,000, he will consider a tattoo, a digital Hammurabi tattoo. I think that should be saved for the 100,000 mark, personally.
Yeah, okay. We probably ought not let them vote because I don't think that with 100,000 that wouldn't be a viable option.
No. Oh, on what the tattoo is?
No.
Yeah, no, I think we can choose the
No.
Oh, you wanted people to vote on what tattoo you received.
I think we can give some options.
Did not understand
things to pick from. No, you said, should we do 10,000 or 100,000? Instead, if we leave that up to a vote, I suspect it would be 10,000.
I can try out some pictures and then we can just get people to vote. That works. And next live stream, for the 3,000 mark, we are going to read one of the Inanna love hymns. Hymn in inverted commas, and also love in inverted commas. Exactly. So we're going to dress like porn stars.
Oh, yeah.
Which will involve Josh either having drawn on some kind of porn star moustache or growing one. Anyway, sorry, we're getting very sidetracked. People watching this later are going to be very angry with me. So we are going to look at chapter 5, which is called The Nephilim, People of the Fiery Rockets. Josh, who or what are the Nephilim in ancient Hebrew?
So the Nephilim are, they appear in 2 different places. Genesis chapter 6 is the earliest as far as when it appears in the biblical text as it stands today. And then in Numbers, is it Numbers 23, maybe? I don't remember. Or maybe 13.
He didn't know I was going to ask him this question.
Yeah, sorry. It's in Numbers. And the Numbers one is probably the one to talk about first. We've talked about this recently, so it's not coming all the way out of left field. So in the book of Numbers, when the spies go into the land and they spy it out before they go in, and 10 of them come back and they report that there are giants in the land, Nephilim. And the Septuagint that's where it appears. Then it appears in Genesis chapter 6 before the flood story, right? As sort of the backdrop to the reason for the flood story. And so the Nephilim there are parenthetically, they're in a parenthetical phrase in the Hebrew. It says at that time, if I can remember it, the sons of God come into the daughters of men, they take wives, and then they have offspring of these Giborim, these great men, these mighty men, and they call them Anshe Hashem, which is literally the men of the name. So it's pretty common enough, at least in the Hebrew text and in the ancient Near East, wider ancient Near East, that this idea of the name would be like of prestige, of being known throughout perpetuity. I'm emphasizing this because it comes up in the book. Because he wants name to mean something very specific there. But anyhow.
So the chapter opens, as it does, with a quote from a Mesopotamian literary composition called Inanna and Venus, in which the goddess Inanna is kind of soaring over the earth and looking at all of her domain, and then she lands in an orchard, goes to sleep, and is promptly raped by someone. He gets his comeuppance later on. But the point of this is that the language Sitchin says shows very clearly that the goddess Inanna is flying. And because she doesn't have wings, she must be flying in a spaceship. Now,
can we just pause and let that sink in? Let's give it a moment of silence that is due such a statement. The goddess, the divine being in the story, goddess, sorry, just want to knock that, is flying in the text. And since she doesn't have wings, she must be flying in a rocket ship.
Yep. Fact. Less.
My Anunnaki brain does not compute.
So the problem with this, apart from taking a myth as literal fact and believing that the gods were actually aliens that genuinely came to Earth and genetically engineered all of humanity. The problem with this is that the goddess Inanna is very often conceptualized as the planet Venus.
All the time.
It's very, very common in Mesopotamia for gods to be like not just associated with celestial bodies, but they are those celestial bodies. It's why judgments would take place outside before Utu or Shamash, the sun god, because he was the god of judgment, because as the sun, the literal sun, he saw everything that happened. So he would know if you were telling the truth, and he would know if you were lying. So Inanna is not flying over the earth in a rocket ship. She is the Venus star.
Where the Venus star
She's
at?
the planet Venus.
Oh, it up there.
Yeah, that's Inanna. And because she's so high up, it looks like she's flying, and she can see
She's so
everything.
high above me. She's so lovely.
I don't know what you're quoting. But
She's so high. Okay. I'm taking another drink.
Indeed. Anyway. Oh, you do look like Cthulhu trying to drink beer like that. That's hilarious.
The hell is a Cthulhu?
He is a fictional, horrible octopus deity from Lovecraft's
Yeah, he is.
books. Anyway, so that's the opening of this chapter, and it harks back to the previous chapter, which is called Sumer, Land of the Gods, in which the Anzu bird, the god Zu, as he should be more properly known. Yes. So Sitchin argues that if you remember us going through the Anzu bird, the myth of the Anzu bird, where he steals the tablets of destinies and then flies off with them because he's a bird. He's allowed to do that. He flies away and then is chased down by the god Ninota.
His wings are not as beautiful as mine.
His wings are not as beautiful as yours, honey. No.
I really wanted to do the coincidence just then.
I don't know what the coincidence is. I mean, I like it. I'm not sure what it is, but I like it.
Those viewers out there might know what it is.
Maybe.
Sorry.
So the Anzu bird flies off with the Tablet of Destinies, and Ninota follows him. And Sitchin reads that myth and says, well, the Anzu bird is not a bird. He's a god, and he can fly because he has a rocket ship. And Ninota is able to follow him because he also has a rocket ship. The problem with this particular piece of evidence, and I use evidence in the loosest possible term here, is that the word Anzu, or the character Anzu's name, is always written, or always, can we say always?
In the Akkadian, it's spelled out syllabically, Anzu.
In Sumerian, it's always written with the word Mushen after it, which is a determinative, meaning bird.
Yep.
So...
And there's at least one Sumerian text, I think it's Ninota's exploits. Yeah, the exploits of Ninota, where it says Mushin, Anzu, Mushin. So it has Mushin as the noun. So it's saying the Anzu bird, but then it has a determinative so that you know, without a shadow of a doubt, this thing is a bird. It's in a list in that text. It's in a list of names of things that Ningirsu has killed in the mountains, and most of them are animals, like a big wild bison, a snake, a dragon, and the Anzu bird.
Who is a bird, which is why he can fly. So that piece of evidence for the gods in rocket ships is less than credible. The argument that Inanna is flying in a rocket ship, also less than credible. Yes. And he also goes into some detail about the costume that one would wear as an astronaut of the Anunnaki.
Stop laughing out there, all of you. This is serious stuff.
It's very serious. You can tell by my serious hat. And he brings in the myth Inanna's descent to the netherworld. And in this myth, the goddess Inanna travels down to the underworld, which is the underworld and not Africa. Just clearing that up. It's a mythical location. It's not a geographical actual place. It's a mythical location where her sister Ereshkigal rules as goddess of the dead. So Inanna goes down to the underworld in order to try and take it over. And at each gate to the underworld, she has to take off a piece of her regalia, including like necklace and her earrings and eventually her dress. And Sitchin uses the list of accessories and clothing that Inanna takes off as a description of her spacesuit.
She takes out her AirPods.
She does actually have apparently earphones over her ears. They're not earrings at all. They are.
She has an iPhone
headphones.
4.
She does have an iPhone 4, actually. See, you say that. You say that like it's silly. So that is a new and unusual interpretation of the text. Not really something people would generally agree with. And in fact, these objects that Inanna removes are more often understood as symbols of her power, because once she removes them and goes down to the underworld, she is virtually powerless. And this is a goddess who is like the most powerful, one of the most powerful deities in all of Mesopotamian religion. You do not piss off Inanna because it's very, very bad juju, very bad.
Yeah.
She will probably kill you. I mean, in one myth, she destroys an entire mountain because it doesn't bow down to her.
No diggity, no doubt. Play on player.
Exactly what he said. So she takes off all of this, these jewelry and accessories and clothing, and it's a symbolic stripping of power. She's not taking off her spacesuit.
We don't think.
See, we don't think. And the problem is he doesn't explain why she would be taking this spacesuit off. In the mythological framework, it makes a lot of sense because 𝀭Support does not want Inanna entering her domain when she is like fully juiced up. She doesn't want that threat because while 𝀭Support is powerful, Inanna's powerful and she's a rival and she's coming down to her kingdom. And I wouldn't want her coming into my kingdom with all of her powers. I would want them stripped away as soon as was humanly possible. So her response, 𝀭Support's response to this is to tell her gatekeeper, well, she can come in, but at every gate she has to take off an item of clothing.
Make sure she takes off those headphones.
Very important. So as she progresses, she gets symbolically weaker and weaker and weaker until she arrives in the underworld with no powers and 𝀭Support kills her. That doesn't make any sense from the standpoint of a spacesuit. At least he doesn't offer any explanation as to why she would be taking off her clothes to go and visit her sister in Africa. Don't laugh, it's true.
I'm sorry. By the way, if you like what you see, it sounds so weird because I'm looking at the screen.
I like what I see.
What you're seeing. Please like. If you haven't subscribed, I'm sure most of you have. But if you have like Twitter and you want to share it, please feel free to take a screenshot of me in this amazing getup and say if you want to come laugh. Hey, I'm down. We have 35 people watching right now and 19 likes. You guys are
pretty good.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
And again, if you have any questions, tag us in the live chat. I will do my best to see it. If I do not see it, keep going because eventually I will see it. Elroy Danu is saying, based on Sitchin's translations of the Hebrew, he respects his translations of the Sumerian. He does not know Sumerian. I'm really, really sorry. Either he knows and he is lying, or he doesn't know and he's making it up. I mean, nothing in him matches what we know of Sumerian linguistics. So it's not right.
Yeah, I mean,
because you seem to be a new viewer, just so you know, Josh has his PhD in Sumerian language. I'm getting my PhD. I'm not a Sumerologist, but a good portion of my training has been in Sumerian.
And you know Sumerian.
I do know Sumerian. This book just...
I know it doesn't look like I have a PhD. Or maybe it does. I mean, let me look again at that picture of the 𝀭Support. But no, I mean, so I think we have to be careful that, I mean, again, I don't know everything about Sitchin's past, but I understand that he was either from Israel or lived in Israel for a while. So the fact that he could translate biblical Hebrew is not surprising in any way to me. It does not follow that because he translated with some responsibility a language that an awful lot of people living today know, that necessarily he would be responsible translating Sumerian. And as a Sumerologist, I can tell you that, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit, as Megan said, if he knew Sumerian, he was very intentionally then not translating Sumerian correctly. But I suspect that he didn't know Sumerian.
Oh, Nell C is saying that you should have defended your dissertation dressed like that.
Yeah, well, I probably would have been more comfortable had I done that.
Definitely one of the least comfortable experiences one can ever go through.
Oh, man.
So let's move on to the May. Now, we've done a video on the May before. This is a very difficult, complicated word. And Sitchin says that the May is the spacesuit that we've already discussed that Inanna probably wasn't wearing when she went to the underworld. So Sitchin says, Inanna, he quotes Inanna, he doesn't give a text, which is a pain in the ass.
It really is. The lack of citation in this book makes you want to weep and then die.
So he says, the text quoted Enlil as saying to her, this is page 136, Beach. The text quoted Enlil as saying to her, you have lifted the May, you have tied the May to your hands, you have gathered the May, you have attached the May to your breast. O queen of all the May, O radiant light, who with her hand grasps the 7 May. So
why we translate singular for all of those is bizarre. Particularly in light of the last one, the 7 May. These are okay. Anyway, sorry.
It's like moose.
Moose.
You don't say mooses. You say the 7 moose.
You say moose. I thought you say meese.
You know.
Mason. Sorry, little Brian Regan down in there. I want to give props.
So he's not translating May, but he's making an argument that the May are a collection of objects that one puts on oneself in order to travel into space. And that makes sense in what he's saying because... that
was a weird sentence coming out of your mouth.
No, there's some internal logic here. It makes sense here because he's saying that Inanna is putting on all of this gear in order to go and visit An, who lives in the sky, because he's a sky god, and that's generally speaking where they reside. So in order to go and see An, she has to get her space suit on and then get in her spacecraft and go up into the sky. The problem with this, again, one of many, the problem with this is that the May actually have names. There are more than 7 of them. It depends what text you're reading, but in a lot of cases, there are more than 7 of them.
Many, many more.
Many, many more. And in one of the texts where Inanna gets on a boat, not a spaceship, you will notice she gets on a boat to go and visit. Is it Enki or Enlil?
Which text are you talking about?
She steals the maze.
Oh, yeah, going to see Enki.
So she's going to see Enki. She goes up, she sees Enki, she gets him blindingly drunk. He falls asleep, and then she steals the maze.
Do you want to read it?
Yeah, if we can find it.
Awesome.
And again, the maze seems to be something that you can pick up and take with you, so why not a spacesuit?
See, we want to cite text.
We do want to cite text. The problem is that it's not a spacesuit because the maze have names, many of them.
Uh-oh.
And they have names like, well, if we can find the text, I will tell you. Dun, dun, dun. Excuse us. Sorry, everybody. So she goes to Eridu. So she is reciting the name of the maze, all of the maze that Enki has given her in his drunken state. He has given me righteousness. He has given me the plundering of cities. He has given me making lamentations. He has given me rejoicing. This is just a small fraction. The list goes on, and I'm not going to read them all because we all have better things to do with our time.
He has given me my space boots.
Not space boots.
Oh.
But righteousness, the plundering of cities, making lamentations, and rejoicing. Those are the first 4 mays that are listed in this particular section.
Yeah, but you should read some more.
I should read some more.
Okay.
He's given me wisdom, attentiveness, holy purification rites, the shepherd's hut, respect, awe, reverence, silence, strife, triumph, counseling. This is all stuff that she's been given by Enki, and she takes on the boat and goes away again.
Read a couple about like the crafts.
Oh, okay. We also,
if they're easy to find. By the way, this is on the site, the Electronic Text Corpus of Sumerian Literature, ETCSL. So if you Google ETCSL Sumerian, you'll be able to find this. It's under the.
We'll put a link in the description later.
Oh, and actually, if you want, it's under the text Inanna and Enki. But if you go to our channel and we have a daily data called The Maze, MES, yep. The Maze, where Megan goes through all of this and what the maze are.
Yes. And in some cases, yes, they are things. So in some cases, they're really abstract concepts like righteousness and awe. And in other cases, they are things that you could probably pick up and hold, like the noble scepter, staff and crook, the noble dress. But then that's paired with shepherdship and kingship. So there's such a long list of maze. And
it's a lot more complicated.
It is.
A lot of ink has been spilled
over exactly what they are.
Yeah.
They're generally translated as the divine powers, the divine ordinances. They're usually understood as the things that you need to have civilized life. You need respect for the gods. You need the ability to have kings. Well, I mean, they thought you needed kingship, but
you need Wi-Fi. You know, all these
Wi-Fi.
things.
Modern day May would be a Wi-Fi. A modern day May would be Wi-Fi. You can't have a Wi-Fi. That's a bizarre thing.
You could have a wireless fidelity.
Just the one.
Is that what Wi-Fi stands for? I really hope so now.
But the list also includes things like carpentry and brickwork and copper working and like barrel making. It's all just stuff that you need for civilized life in a city. And
if a god makes you a May and you want to tell your mother about it, you say, "Mother, may I?"
I love you. So, not a spacesuit. Unfortunately, they can be worn because the maze, weirdly, for things like awe and righteousness, are physical things that you can pick up. You can steal them from your uncle when you get him drunk, and then Enki comes and takes them back again. But you can pick them up. You can wear them, and they're powerful things. So it makes sense that Inanna would be decking herself out with maze to go and visit Anu, to kind of, especially if she's going to try and persuade him to do something for her, like give her the bull of heaven, which she does sometimes.
Everybody wants a bull of heaven.
No, who doesn't? So the idea of her wearing them like jewelry or like the garment that she takes off in Inanna's descent to the netherworld is not terribly weird. It's a little strange to us because the idea of having something like righteousness as a physical thing you could wear is a little unusual. But it's not a spacesuit, unfortunately.
Maybe we could take a minute. Can we get to the section about the Mu'unda Tortor?
Yes,
okay.
That's right here.
So. Yeah, go ahead, and then we'll do your thing with your iPad.
I can't remember what I wanted to do with the iPad.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll do that later if I remember what it is.
No, I do.
You do? Okay. So, and another problem with this book is he jumps all over the place chronologically. Like, he covers damn near 4,000 years of history and argues that everything shows the same eventual outcome, which is very, very simplistic. So looking at the time of the king Gudea, who you may know, he's got statues, loads and loads of statues. But one of his major compositions is a text that describes how he builds a new temple for the god Ninurta. And Sitchin gives a very interesting snippet of translation. He wrote that there appeared to him a man who shone like heaven, page 138 Beach, a man who shone like heaven. By the helmet on his head, he was a god. This is a very bad translation. It is incorrect. It doesn't say there was a helmet on his head. It says his head was like a god, which can mean many things. It doesn't necessarily mean he has a helmet on because he's been in a spaceship. Sitchin also translates something as divine black wind bird. We've both looked through the whole of this Gudea text in translation, and we've translated not for this but portions of it for school, and really cannot find anything that could be a divine black wind bird. And because he doesn't give a line number or the Sumerian, we actually can't track down what it is he's translating. So, and he uses this divine black wind bird to argue that the temple Gudea has built is actually supposed to be like a hangar to house the spaceship, which is a fascinating idea.
Well, I mean, it's an idea. I'm not fascinated by it.
The problem is there's absolutely zero evidence for it. Mesopotamian temple complexes tended to be full of buildings. Even if you've got a massive enclosure wall, there are several different temples within them. The temples themselves did have courtyards, but they weren't always terribly large courtyards, and a lot of the time they were filled with statues. So exactly where the spaceship was supposed to go is a a good question. We don't know because there wasn't a spaceship.
That was easy.
It was easy. And there is another section in the Gudea text that he quotes. So Gudea stated that as the divine bird rose to circle the lands, it flashed upon the raised bricks. The protected enclosure, Sitchin writes, was described as Mu Na Da Tor Tor, which he translates as strong stone resting place of the Mu. He's arguing that the Mu means spaceship. A Mu is a spaceship. Dr. Josh, why is this problematic?
Okay, so can I see your iPad?
Yeah.
Please, my dear. All right, I'm going to try to do something here.
Dun, dun, dun.
How do you get this pen out of here? All right. Would you open? Is that it? Yes. Okay. I have to screen share.
Hang on.
Oh.
Sorry, we've got files open and...
There we go.
There we are.
All right. How does one... Okay. Sorry, everybody. It always takes me a second to remember how to do screen sharing. Okay. Damn it. Sorry. There it is. Aha! Start screen share. Did I do it? Can everybody see that? Okay.
It's still thinking. I'm not entirely sure that we're there. Yes.
Beautiful. Okay. So he says that you have Mu. What was it?
Mu Na Da.
That's an N.
Mu Na Da Tor Tor. Tiwa Tiwa.
Okay. Now, people like to read, so if you've been taking the Sumerian course, people like to do things that, if you've been taking the course, you now know are no good. They want to take Mu. Let's say Mu would mean name. Na, he would read as Na 4, which means stone. Da means side. Tor would mean small things. Okay? And he would want to say, the name of the stone is, I don't know, small things by the side or some shit. Okay? Now this is the sort of stuff. This is the way that this sort of stuff is translated, right? You take the individual things,
and we see this a lot when people are trying to translate Sumerian and they don't know how it works.
Yeah,
they take each individual sign as an individual word and completely ignore the fact that some words, well, some signs are not actually symbolizing objects or concepts. They are grammatical morphemes.
Right. So, in this sentence, or in this form. This is a verb. Oh my God. I can write Sumerian. I can't write English. Verb. That's what this whole thing is. It's a single verb. Mu is called a conjugation prefix. Na here is probably the dative. Da is the comitative. It means with.
So
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
But these are all parts of a single verb. And then tor is the verbal, that's the verbal base itself. If you want to know more about this, I explain this in great detail in the Sumerian class. It's obviously free and it's online, and you can go see it. But the point is that this is just one verb, like I jumped or he ran, right? This is a verbal form. So mu, if you see mu by itself in a sentence, for example, she's showing me how to, oh. I don't know what that is.
No. Ha. Sorry, everybody. That was wrong. That was supposed to be the eraser.
Okay, hold on. I can do it. Oh, wait.
Don't say.
Okay, hold on. I think I know what to do.
Yeah, genius.
Well, I don't know if it's...
Yep, and there we go. Perfect.
All right. I forgot what I was going to do.
If you see mu by itself.
Okay, so mu, right? Mu can be name.
Which is what Sitchin wants to translate it as almost all of the time.
Actually, does he? I thought he wanted to translate it rocket.
Oh, no, sorry, you're right. He doesn't like it being translated as name because that's wrong. It's rocket.
He wants it to be rocket. That doesn't mean rocket anywhere. He wants it to mean rocket because if you look at the cuneiform sign, it's something like that. He wants that to be a rocket. It's not a rocket. But anyway, so mu, name, text, year. Na 4 is a stone. Oops.
But Na 4 is a different sign to the sign he's using here. It's
very
not the
different
same
sign.
as the just Na 1 sign.
But the point is that when mu is in a verbal form, here's one that everybody that's taking my class will know. Mu un du 3. Mundu is how they would have pronounced this word, mundu, right? Or something close to that, mundu. Well, mundu, mu here doesn't mean name or text or year. It's the phoneme mu, right? So when they wanted to say the word mundu, and so they wrote it out like this, mu un du. So mu here doesn't mean name. It's the sound
or
mu.
Spaceship.
Or spaceship.
Strangely enough.
Okay, so you have to keep that stuff in mind. I'm going to stop screen sharing here now because I know you guys want to see my beard.
It's a good beard.
Okay.
It's a good beard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, you have to keep this in mind when you look at Sumerian and what people are saying about Sumerian. But in his book, he does this all the time. All the time. It's sort of the equivalent to it's far worse, but it's roughly equivalent to if you were to say butterfly, right? Somebody 1,000 years from now will see the word butterfly and they would say, this is a type of a stick that was kind of slippery and went on bread that was able to soar through the air. Butterfly.
Nope.
No, it's not.
As it turns out.
Okay. I've talked a lot
strangely
here.
That. No, we're good.
Does anybody have any questions before we press on?
There was just one more thing. We're not going to get through an awful lot of this because there's so much information and we can go through it and refute it all, but I don't have the strength.
Yeah.
None of us have the time for that. So I'm just kind of picking out key bits. And there was one other thing I wanted to share with you.
By the way, we have 45 people watching right now, which is amazing, and 28 likes. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I watch a fair amount of streams, not a lot, and that's a pretty good average. You guys I really appreciate that.
Okay, I am going to show you one thing, and then we're going to take some questions. So if you have questions, put them in the live chat, tag us, and we'll read them in a minute. So we're going to go back to the ding ear thing. And I'm sure you will remember last time Sitchin wants to translate ding ear to mean like the bright shining ones or something like that, which is incorrect. But he does this by saying that the word ding ear, which is written like this, is actually written din gear with two different signs, which is wrong because ding ear is only ever written like this. This is the ding ear sign. Ding ear.
So where does he? Oh, sorry. So where does he get? No. I'm asking a leading question. Okay. So where does he get two signs out of that?
So he's listening to the word and saying, so, yes, he's doing it phonetically, which is incorrect. So this is a nasalized G, and it's pronounced like ung. And that's how it's written. So when you say it, you don't say digir, you say dingir, which sounds like two syllables. So you have din. You have din and you have gear. Which leads him to then back translate it. And It's a fascinating thing. He writes it out phonetically in Sumerian, which is never ever done in an actual Sumerian text. What he does is this, which is very exciting because it illustrates the rocket ship. Din.
I'm excited.
Gear. So he says that these two signs make up the word dingir, and that when they are put together, as they would never ever be written, but
Ever?
as they are written, he says all the time, what you have is a rocket ship.
That is ejaculating.
Isn't that exciting?
Oh, sorry.
It's not ejaculating. So,
well, I mean, it could be. Prove me wrong.
This is a picture of a rocket-propelled spaceship. This bit here is the spaceship with a landing craft attached to it. So you can both fly through the air, and then when you reach orbit, you can land safely without crashing your rocket ship. The problem with this, again, one of many. Can we stop the screen share?
Oh, yeah.
The problem with this is that the sign or the word dingir is never ever written like this, because that's not the word. Yeah. So
does that make sense?
No rocket ships.
So I'm trying to think of an English equivalent for this, and I can't.
Not sure there is one.
But you know, that nasalized G. First of all, dingir is one word. Right. But when you say it, when an Assyriologist would pronounce it, they're pronouncing it with the nasalized G in the middle. Right. So the nasalized G is an NG sound. And we can, get into that later about how we know that. But the point is that when you say it then in like a popular book, or when you write it, people don't know what a nasalized G. If you were to put a G with a circumflex over it, people wouldn't know. We
don't have that.
Right. Like in the same way that the SH sound, the esh sound, we don't write SH when we transliterate something. We write S with a caret or a V or whatever the hell you call it over top of it. Yes, Megan just put it in the side chat. So that's an SH sound. But because when you write a popular book or something, you don't write that. If you want to write,
because people will be confused and put off, and they won't finish your book.
That's right. So, like when I wrote my dissertation on the city of Kish, which is, if you want to type it in there, K-I.
Kish.
S with the caret on top. Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
I don't know either. S with a V. But because I couldn't put that on the binding, I don't think I did. Now that I sit here and think about it.
That's a good analogy. Keep going.
But if I were to tell somebody that if I were writing a letter and I said I wrote my dissertation on this city in Mesopotamia called Kish, I wouldn't write K-I-S with a V on top of it. I would write K-I-S-H, because that's how we write it in English.
Yep, that's how people understand it.
So if you're writing a book and you want to say the dingir sign, you would write it in English characters D-I-N-G-I-R. Well, to the person that doesn't know Sumerian, they could say, that's made up of two words, din and gear. And then you can go try to figure out what the two words are and then put them together and then put those signs together. You can come up with the whole thing. In reality, it's not din gear, it's dingir with a nasalized G in the middle.
Exactly. So do we have any questions? I do have something else to share, but I said that we'd do questions. So Ella, any questions first? Let me look.
I can sing a show tune or something while we wait.
Did Sumerians have epics?
Sumerians have epics. I'm trying to figure out how precise.
Let's be general.
Okay. Are there epics
Defining
in Sumerian?
Sumerian and Akkadian ethnic groups are very, very difficult. So instead, we will talk about Mesopotamia as a whole, which, if you have watched me talk before, you'll know is probably not a great idea, because Mesopotamia as a whole is a massive, massive geographical region that spans about 4,000 years of history. But for the sake of argument and to keep everything simple, we are saying Mesopotamia tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yes. I mean, so like the Gilgamesh.
Yes, Gilgamesh epic.
We're doing Akkadian and Sumerian. Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, the the Gilgamesh epic, and we probably have.
Oh, he was making a joke, and we're answering it as a serious question. I'm sorry. Keep going with the answer, though. It's a good answer.
You know, why would you joke around with somebody that's dressed in such a serious way? Watch this. I can't have a beard. Well, I've never had one this long. I imagine it doesn't.
Few people.
I don't think it does this when you swing it.
I think real beards are probably a different texture.
I've been trying.
I mean, that's very soft and fluffy.
I've been trying to move my wings this whole time, but they're not really attached to my muscles.
They're not. They're not.
I can wiggle my ears though. Look.
They can't really see your ears though because they're behind the beard.
No, but it's moving the beard.
That's true. It is moving the beard. So
Sorry.
we have no notes. We have no more questions right now.
I guess people are just so mortified at what they're seeing they can't ask questions.
Aha. Christopher is asking, have you ever run across a case like a student tablet where they decided to try and spell dinger phonetically? That's a good question because phonetic spelling does occur. Yeah.
So actually, and I'd have to look at, I'd want to look actually at, we have lists, right? There are lots of lists. And in these lists, that they are part of the curriculum. I wrote my dissertation on the curriculum from Kish, at least part of it. And one of the compositions that's copied in Scribal Education is this composition where in the first column, in one of the columns, they will write the phonetic spelling. They'll use signs to actually spell out the sound of the value. In one of the other columns, they'll write the Sumerian sign that it represents, or that represents that value. So yes, they will have phonetic spellings. What?
Sorry, there's a question that you're going to enjoy.
Oh, okay.
Carry on. This is a serious question. Though.
Yes, very serious. Look at my eyes. Okay.
So there are phonetic spellings.
Yes. I would have to look. So that's one place where you could see phonetic writings. The other is the other half of my dissertation.
Dun, dun, dun.
Because, and if you want to see, by the way, anybody watching, if you want to see what my dissertation was about, Megan interviewed me. It was one of her earliest videos.
And if you want to read it by yourself, it's on our website.
Oh, snizzle.
digitalhammurabi.com.
Come on, somebody.
Because we're amazing.
Indeed. So you did it.
I did.
And she did all those cool little pictures and stuff too. I know, it's just.
Thank you.
Get a bomb, dig it deep. Okay. And I say that on the authority of all Anunnaki. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So in my dissertation, the group of texts that I worked on, they were liturgical texts, Sumerian liturgical texts, and they were written in a dialect of Sumerian, like a subdialect called Emisal, but they were written phonetically. So instead of, for example, for anybody listening who doesn't know what I mean, if you were to spell the word dogs in English, you would spell it D-O-G-S. However, if you were to spell it how it sounds or spell it phonetically, you would write D-O-G-Z because dogs. So that's how they wrote a lot of these texts. They wrote them as they sounded, not as they were actually spelled. So the interesting thing that I found out is that this system that they had, that all of them had to learn, where they learned specific ways to phonetically write out these words, they didn't use that system. They used a completely different system, one that they ostensibly made up. It's very interesting. Anyway.
So there are phonetic writings. I don't know of anywhere where dinger is written phonetically, but that
I can look.
Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Josh can have a look for you.
Yeah, please email me though if you can, because I will forget in the next. Let me check my rosette here. In the next one turn of the rosette.
Dirk is asking, would you come and dust his home with your beard?
I can.
And you're reminding people of the song Car Wash.
Oh.
Sadie Marie Jones is asking where she can buy the book. This book is available on Amazon. It was, I think, $15 or something. Probably. Now, he also looks at Gilgamesh, which is an excellent epic. I highly recommend it to everybody who feels
I'd look
like
at Gilgamesh.
Yeah, you would. So,
Mockest thou me?
Yes. In the epic, Gilgamesh and his companion Enkidu are traveling to the cedar forest to defeat the guardian Humbaba. And on their journey, Gilgamesh decides to invoke a dream omen to see if they are going to be successful. So they build a dream house, and he goes and falls asleep, and he has a dream.
Now, if this doesn't convince you, nothing will.
And in his dream, we have a quote here. In my dream, my friend, the high ground toppled. It laid me low, trapping my feet. The glare was overpowering. And a man appeared. The fairest in the land was he. His grace, something. From under the toppled ground, he pulled me out. He gave me water to drink. My heart quieted. Pretty reasonable. Who is this man? Why is the ground trembling? Well, he falls asleep again. And we have another quote. In the middle of the watch, his sleep was ended. He started again, saying to his friend, my friend, did you call me? Why am I awake? Did you not touch me? Why am I startled? Did some god go by? Why is my flesh numb? And again, he falls back asleep. The vision that I saw was wholly awesome. The heavens shrieked, the earth boomed. Daylight failed, darkness came. Lightning flashed, a flame shot out. The ground swelled, it rained death. Then the glow vanished, the fire went out, and all that had fallen turned to ashes. Now,
let's assume for a second that that's a good translation.
I mean, let's assume that.
I can't think of anything else that could mean.
Sitchin follows it with this statement. One needs little imagination to see in these few verses an ancient account of the witnessing of the launching of a rocket ship. Yes. The problem with that is that Gilgamesh explicitly states that it's a dream. And Sitchin makes the same comment about Jacob's ladder and says that Jacob wasn't actually dreaming. What he was seeing was astronauts walking up and down a ramp to a spaceship, which was kind of hovering above. And the hovering spaceship was actually heaven that Jacob said the ladder went into. And the problem with this is the problem that you see throughout almost all of Sitchin's evidence. He is taking myth and literature as literal fact, and taking anything from the ancient world, any writing as literal fact, is highly problematic, because people write things for a purpose and for a reason, and that purpose is almost never to inform people in the future of what actually happened to them.
You're such a conspiracy theorist.
I am.
Look at your hat.
You can tell from the
I
hat.
wish you were dressed more normally like I am.
Sorry. So.
Oh,
baby. Sorry, Oliver's waking up again. So he wants this dream sequence to be factual. He wants it to show one of the Anunnaki, one of the spacefarers, coming to talk to Gilgamesh and scaring him so much with the launching of his rocket ship. And what it more normally is believed to be is a dream omen, because in the ancient world, in ancient Mesopotamia, omens were the way that the gods communicated with humans, and dreams were a big part of that. The gods send you a dream, and you go and you have it interpreted by someone, and that's the role that Enkidu plays in this. Enkidu interprets Gilgamesh's dream for him and tells him whether or not he'll be successful in his venture.
and believe me, there is, I mean, you know, if you haven't gone and read it, go read all the other dreams that Gilgamesh has along the way. You know, that's not the weirdest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so anyhow.
So we have a couple of questions.
Okay, great.
Christopher says that Gilgamesh was sexy. He probably was sexy. I mean, he thinks he was sexy. Gingercore69 says, do you have or would you make videos explaining details of Mesopotamians' religion? I want to make a video game based in ancient Sumer, and I'd rather do a good job than a Sitchin job. Admirable.
I will. I can answer that while you check on him. Yeah, please go check out our channel. I'm trying to think of. We've put a lot of videos up, but I think we've probably at least got 2 or 3 about the gods specifically. But I'd have to go back and look. But yeah, check out our channel. We just did a video series, a daily data series on A. Leo Oppenheim's book, Ancient Mesopotamia, Portrait of a Dead Civilization. And, one of the chapters there was about the Sumerian pantheon. We've done I think we've done several videos actually in a row early on daily data on the pantheon. So yes, there should be a lot. And if you watch them and you think, I'd like more information, Megan has already interacted with someone, I don't remember who I think is either making a movie or doing something akin to that, and wants to know specifics about Mesopotamian culture. And so she's been giving some details there. So yeah, please take a look. And if you need more information, we can either provide it for you or give you resources, point you in the right direction. We'd be very happy to do that. Man, we have 49 people watching and 35 likes. We do have a dislike, which, you know, I expect. I mean, I wouldn't want to look at me in this outfit. Okay.
You look adorable.
Oh, well, that's so kind. Oh, sorry. I don't want to screw up
I'm
here.
going to go get him in a minute.
Okay.
We did have another question though. Are you anywhere close to knowing how many potential scholarship recipients there will be to turn against each other to fight like in Thunderdome?
Yeah, let me take a minute and talk about that. So, actually, this is really encouraging. Actually, what's been going on recently. You look really good, FYI.
Thank you. I should wear a tinfoil hat more often.
I wasn't talking about the hat. Sorry, everyone. I don't remember what I was saying. Thank you for having that effect on me. Yes. So for those of you that don't know, one of the primary things that we're doing here, besides trying to provide reputable, responsible scholarly information about the ancient world, ancient Near East in particular, to normal people that want to learn free of charge, is we're trying to make it so that PhD students, people that are going for the PhD, they're poor, and Megan is still a PhD student, and so you don't have a lot of money, and but the problem is that even though you don't have even not having a lot of money, you still have to go on research trips if you're gonna do well. You have to go on research trips. You have to go on trips to go to conferences and talk to other scholars. You have to sometimes go overseas, particularly in our field. You have to go to Germany, for example, and go to some of the museums over there to look at cuneiform tablet collections. Or you have to go to France and go to the Louvre, and or even just traveling across the country to it can be costly anyhow, because you have to get your plane tickets, you have to get room and board, you have to stay there for a little while. So it can be expensive. And they have to pay for that stuff out of pocket, or they have to compete for scholarships, right? And what we wanted to do was offer another avenue for people to get a scholarship. So we have a Patreon account, and poor guy, all of the money that gets donated to the Patreon account goes toward funding a scholarship for a PhD student. Now, we realized after we set it up that if you give $100, let's say, $7 or $8 will be taken by Patreon as their fee, which makes sense, right? So what we decided is that in order to make it so that all of your money gets to that student, whatever money is taken by Patreon, we will personally chip in to make up for it. That'll be our contribution to it monetarily. So someone very generously donated $400 the other day, for example. And I think Patreon or whatever or PayPal maybe took $25 of that. So we chipped in the $25 to make up for it. So we're very serious about that. Now, you might ask, how do you decide who gets the money?
That's where the Thunderdome comes in.
That's where the Thunderdome comes in. It's more like roller derby, if we're honest.
It is.
I'm just kidding. It's not like that at all. So we are going to put a call out for project proposals, essentially, early in the year, maybe February or March. And we have a way of doing that. And PhD students will electronically put together a proposal, probably have to write a short paper of some sort proposing it. And then we will sift through them and using
the magic of the Anunnaki.
Magic of the Anunnaki.
Also known as two PhDs. or nearly 2 PhDs, 1.5 PhDs.
You're a PhD. Come on.
Nearly.
We will narrow down the field. We will pick, 5 or 10, depending on how many people we get, 5 or 10 of those proposals that are all good, are all reputable, good projects that will produce good scholarship. And we will have each one of them come on one at a time and do an interview. And they'll make their pitch to you, the viewing audience. Now, one of the reasons that this is such a good thing to do, in my opinion, is that part of the problem with people in academic circles, particularly at that elite level, PhD level, they become very brilliant, right? They get all this information, but they don't necessarily focus in on presenting it to people, right? Making it understandable and enjoyable. And what this will do is this will require that person, if they want to win the scholarship, to make it not only understandable to you, the viewing audience who doesn't have a PhD in an ancient Near Eastern field. Maybe you do, but most of you probably don't. But it will also make it so that they have to make it interesting, right? Why does it matter to you as the listening audience? Anyway, I'm going on and on here. So once each of these interviews goes, the patrons will come together in a special session, and they will vote on the person that they'd like to grant the money to. Now, if we want to give them at least $2,500, that's what we're shooting for. We want to do that once a year. Now, if for some reason we get a big response out of this and we get $5,000, well, we'll get 2 candidates, right? If we get 7,500, we'll get 3, and so on. So that's what we're shooting for. That's what we want to do, and I'm excited about it, frankly. And you know what? If we get $7,500 and we both have to contribute, $500 or something, you know what? I'm okay with that because it's worth it.
It is.
So,
and this is awesome. Somebody asked if we have evidence for Gilgamesh being real.
Yes, some.
He is generally thought to have, the literary character is generally thought to have been based on the memory of a real actual king called Gilgamesh. That's a pretty standard understanding of scholars. There isn't a massive amount of physical evidence for him because he was supposed to have lived several thousand years ago. But there is some.
I think
there's a cylinder seal.
You know what we can do? If somebody emails me this, maybe we can do a short daily data on that. Andrew George, in his 2-volume series, what is it, 2010? 2000? Yeah. He does a very the monumental, the magnum opus edition of the Gilgamesh epic in a 2-volume series, and he talks about the evidence for Gilgamesh being an early 3rd millennium king of Uruk. And yeah, I mean, I think Andrew George is of the opinion that he was, and I think the evidence is pretty good for him. Is it conclusive? No, but I think it's
much conclusive about that long ago.
Yeah, it's tough, but
it's difficult.
I think it's good. Certainly, the stuff that's built, if there was a legendary person, a historical person, which again I think there was, certainly the stories that are built up around him are legend, not reality. So.
And that happens with later kings as well. King Sargon of Akkad was a definite real person. We have inscriptions composed for him on his behalf, telling us about his deeds and the temples he built and the peoples he subjugated. But then you get later literary traditions about him.
LLTs.
Exactly, later literary traditions, in which he, like Moses, this is probably possibly where the Moses story arose from. He was deposited in a reed basket, sealed with pitch, and then floated down a river. He was also apparently the son of a goddess or a priestess. It depends which tradition you read. So this is not Gilgamesh being the Gilgamesh stories being based on the existence of a real historical person is not a complete outlier in Mesopotamian literature. It happens. Later kings have things written about them. It's interesting. It's good stuff. Let me see if we have any more questions. No questions yet.
Guys, this has been a lot of fun.
It's been lovely. Thank you.
And we probably need to try to get this guy to go to sleep.
If there are any more questions, you've got like a couple of minutes because I'd love to hear. Does your area of study benefit from linguistics education? I actually don't know anyone with like a background in linguistics. It's more philology and learning like the grammar and just how to read the ancient languages. Having said that, I think a linguistics background would possibly be useful.
Yeah, I mean,
it would definitely give you a different perspective on what we're looking at.
I mean, Gabor Zayomi, for example, a lot of, I mean, certainly linguistics is brought to bear to try to understand some of the, the syntactical relationships between Sumerian phrases. And I mean, it's, you use that stuff all the time. I would say that ends up being what you specialize in the linguistics area. If you deal with that, if you're more of a philological, if you're into the languages and you're more into philology, then you kind of spend your time trying to figure out what the words mean and what the words mean in different contexts, rather than, you still do both, but you don't tend to focus as much. At least I don't tend to focus as much on those more detailed linguistic concepts. So
we have another question. What do you think of the people who compare the son of Inanna, possibly Shara, with Cupid, Eros, and Karma? So Inanna is very, very rarely depicted as a parent. I think there's one text that I know of that describes her as being a mother. And her son, I can't remember what his name is. It may be Shara, but isn't Shara a divine weapon?
Shar-Or.
Shar-Or is the divine weapon. Okay, so it might be Shara. Is not terribly well known in Mesopotamian religion. I don't even know what his attributes would be. I'd need to look into that to answer it more fully. He's not a major figure. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I will need to look into that because that sounds interesting. Brant says maybe one day he'll have a real wrench. Brant, I can fix that for you now. Will there be any Dingia symbol merchandise?
Yes.
There will.
We talked about this, I think, on the last stream, maybe. Yeah, we want to get some T-shirts at least going out. But yeah, I think that would be I think that'd actually be a really good idea. Mm-hmm. Man, the thumbnail for our,
it's sexy.
Well, I don't know what it's going to do. It's either going to make people click on this video or it's going to make them run screaming. I don't know which one. So no, but that's good. In fact, listen, if you have ideas or things that you would say you would like, hi buddy, do you like my really big hat? Please, email them to us, digitalhammurabi@gmail.com. I think you can go on the website and contact us that way. But yeah, we'd love to hear them because we have some ideas for things we want to do. I do want to mention Megan started recording. She has decided that she's going to very generously take the next daily data series, which gives me time to work on my Sumerian grammar book and the rest of the Sumerian grammar series, and then the new series that I started, which is Learn to Read Biblical Hebrew. So if you'd like that, the first lesson is up. The Hebrew alphabet song that I sang, that I used years ago when I learned Biblical Hebrew. That's up on the channel, so please check that out. But the next series that Megan is going to do is
Sex and Eroticism in Mesopotamian Literature. But
I think we're calling it Sexy Sex in Mesopotamia. That was my thought. Let's call it Sexy Sex in Mesopotamia. But
okay. Thank you everybody for joining us. bead. The bead is crocheted. It's one long string crocheted and then lots of loops crocheted down. And Oliver is probably going to try eating my hat soon. So thank you everybody for joining us. And we have lots of fun.
We have 46 watching right now.
That's pretty cool.
This is crazy. We have 41 likes, 1 dislike. So that's only 4 people that didn't click on that thing, either one way or the other. I cannot look, guys. Sometimes this is tough. Oh no, the government. Sometimes this is tough, and we don't get as much sleep maybe as we'd like. But I got to tell you, you make it worth it.
Yeah,
when I wake up in the morning and I see the comments, the people that we interact with on a regular basis, you guys, I get a lot of. There are a lot of people that watch that Sumerian grammar video. I think we're up to 14,000 views on that Sumerian grammar 1 video now. So of those, there aren't many, but there are people that make comments about me being slow, or me
taking too long to get to the point.
Taking too long to get to the point. Hey, that's exactly right. It's very true. Guilty, but you guys make this worth it, and I just can't thank you enough. So thank you all very much for watching, and please let us know if there's anything we can do to make this better for you. And if you can support the PhD student on the Patreon, that would be wonderful. If you can't, please just like and subscribe, and tell your friends, share it around. But either way, let's get good scholarship out there. So until next time, resist poor scholarship. Always ask, how do you know that?
I guess.
Good night.